agree with Rainer in the sense that ethics is ethics because life is open. And that means we don't have any book of recepts. So we need to think ethics for all the cases. So that means we need to consider within this openness of life how we need to behave in order to achieve the goals and in order to survive, depending on the view we consider for ethics. But with respect to that, with respect particularly to what is the objective, so what are we going to do in that sense, we may need a kind of update, but not only of what ethics is, but also from the philosophical perspective of the self. As Jamor also said regarding the opposition of the human with respect to nature, so we need to reframe it because we are not anymore in that opposition, and because we are not in that opposition, then the objective is kind of different, because the world is not anymore the space where we do our lives. The world is to what we belong, so we are transforming the world, so we are part of the world, and we are in this ship, and this is a change in the point of view of the ethics, because the ethics has been observed like in the Newtonian mechanics, the space and time. There is a kind of space and time where things happen, where physical events happen. In the ethics, we're kind of similar. So we have a space and time where we make the decision. Right now, so we need to consider that we are changing this space and time, and we belong to that. And this is, I think, a strong change, and a strong need, which is not particularly referred to digitalization. Is much broader. It is in the whole process of the development that includes industrialization and all the changes that has gone through the development of many technologies. Let me share something that I have already shown. I have sorry. See, can you see my screen?
Yes, it works.
So I think this famous sentence from a Spanish philosopher that I like very much, and it represents very well what I'm willing to say. And I think what Ortega y Gasset was pointing out was actually trying to overcome the narrow view of modernity with respect to what is the self. So this common sense and the idea of Descartes, of le bon sense, that is so well distributed, and this idea of the self with the I. For Ortega y Gasset, is I and my circumstance. So without my circumstance, I'm losing the substantial part. And there is one part of the sentence that is not so well known, which is the second part, that I think is also substantial for what we are talking about. Mm-hmm. So I am my circumstance, and if I don't save it, I do not save myself. This is from Meditations on Quixote from 1914. And he wanted to set a new possibility to reframe the idea of the self, and in a sense, I think this is kind of what we need. I have it doesn't move. Okay, yeah. So this is what in my presentation of the panel of what is system, the study of information, I already refer to this. And we have been talking about the importance of the autonomy, the development of autonomy in humanism. What, of course, is something fundamental. That's what Martin pointed out while referring to the talk of Rainer Zimmermann. And I think that regarding digitalization, so we have the opportunity also to do something with respect to this autonomy. And this is the idea of Stafford Beer in his idea, in the development of the viable system model, is that we can use all these digital assets and the computing in order to make that the self in the circumstance, whatever it is. So it can be within a society, it can be in a family, it can be in a larger group, in a city, or in a country, or in the world altogether. So it's capable to take the information that is needed in order to react properly, to solve the problems this person or this team or this society has, to make the decisions that are necessary in order to make that the system, whatever the system is, survive, so persist, and is capable to pursue their goals. So according to, this is following the Asby's law of requisite variety. So we need to articulate also the information technologies may be different, but according to this idea of autonomy, and this may bring about a completely different way of articulating digital technologies. Actually, I think I jumped because this was what I wanted to show before. So the situation in which we are is kind of the situation of Althusius. So in the 16th century, Althusius in the Calvinist communities, he observed that was very difficult to make that the community itself, the Calvinist, could develop following their values. So according to their ethical values and according to all the values they had, they couldn't work well because they were framed within a large Catholic imperium, and it was difficult because the organization was something with that kind of network. So it was an Stark-like network, completely centralized. That was the idea of the absolutism, and he developed the idea of subsidiarity. The idea of subsidiarity is that we need to change this articulation so that not only hierarchical network is being carried out. So this is something we had in feudalism. We also need some horizontal relation so that at different levels, so at the lower level, even the level of a community, this community, in this case, it could be for him of interest, the Calvinist community, could make decisions according to their own values. And if the problem is larger, he was agreed that in many cases to participate of the imperium or the Catholic larger society was also interesting because many of the issues they have, they belong to the larger community, to the larger collective, to the larger society. And his idea is we need to keep both. We need to have some connection to the larger body, but also proper connections within a different level, so that at any level the problems are being solved in the closest possible way. So it is necessary to articulate a different network and a different relations between the parts, so that we have something like that. So this is something we discuss in one contribution of Hofkirner, some of the people who is present here. So this is what I saw before. So the idea of Stafford Beer is we can articulate then the digital and information technologies in order to make that the proper information is being utilized to solve the problem. So I'm not going to refer to the viable system model, many of you may know, and you can read about it. There's enough bibliography about it, but the idea is to bring about the possibility of autonomous agency at any level, and also to coordinate it with different levels. So at any level, the system needs to be viable. So that means it needs to persist. It needs to be capable to pursue their goals. So in all, just to finish, as you said, we may also reframe technology and consider differently. So we can. I wanted to. Did I stop it, the sharing, or not? Have I stop it, or am I still sharing? I don't know.
We
see your window now.
We see it. We see.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now it works. Okay.
So in ancient times, technology could be assistant with respect to nature, could assist nature. In modernity, the idea of technology developed towards the mastering of nature, right? In postmodernity, in the situation we are, technology has moved in the direction of synthesizing a new nature, but without having a proper knowledge and a proper control of all the relations that are involved, therefore with creating many dangerous situations. So it is not that we should go back, but maybe if we apply this precautionary principle to the capacity that we have to synthesize new worlds, then we may come back to the assistance situation of nature. We may synthesize, but we need to frame it within nature, because this needs to work within ourselves, within our systems, and we need to take care of it. We cannot synthesize the whole world. We cannot synthesize because it is related to so many things. We can never have under control all of the parts. So maybe in a sense, we need to come back to the original sense of technology as something that is assistant to nature, but maybe nature need be to contribute differently, as we are also a part of nature, and we are bringing about new things that are conforming us, as technology has always done it. We are nothing also without the technologies, starting with the language that we discussed before, and we are nothing without that. And it is part of our nature, and we are part of the larger nature. Okay. So, thank you
so much. So these were really very good ideas put forward from all of you. I guess that maybe some of you would also like to respond to the others, but we have now already the first question from the public. This is Marcin, and then Rafael and Daniel. Okay, you see, there's a big...
I would like to ask, I would like to present how I understand what was common in these presentations of panelists. I can be wrong, but I would like to know if actually this is, you will see how it could be understood. That digital technology did not create, but amplified problems of humanity. Problems which were before marginalized, but which now, because of information technology, started to be very dangerous. And there is urgent need for urgent and accelerated transformation of humanities to deal with these amplified problems created, which now, because of digital technology, started to be more visible, more influencing our life. Would you agree with this?
I think so. I think so. We would all agree. Can I give the question to the next speaker? Yeah, Rafa?
I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay.
Okay.
I am in an awkward situation because, the question of the debate is if we should change the approach to the humanism, yes? Or if we should change the meaning of the humanism. Yes? Or do I correctly understand this?
Yeah.
And I have to point something, because I must say that the brilliant lecture of Professor Zimmermann ends on the beginning of the 19th century. The last person he mentioned, we haven't time to discuss, there was no circumstances to do it. The last person he mentioned, I realized maybe I misunderstood something, was Niethammer, as an author of the notion of the humanismus. Yes, it's his idea coming from the very end of 19th century. And later, there was many other philosophers. I mentioned only one, Martin Heidegger, who trying to develop this notion. And this notion has been very popular, and the discussion about this notion has been very popular especially in 20th century. And the humanism take the other variant as post-humanism. There was and I have to ask you if maybe we should speak a little bit about this philosophical, anthropological, cultural, societal, very important discussion, which gathers many philosophers and thinkers. For example, it started from the half of 19th century, from the Nietzsche. Then in 20th century, we can speak about Martin Heidegger, Michel Foucault, Jacques Derrida, etc., etc. There are also many books about it. And many of the concerns I've heard here are very well developed in this reflection, this kind of reflection. This it doesn't mean that we have nothing to do, of course. We have a lot of to do because everything is changed so quickly, and the Anthropocene is a new idea. But I think that we should come back to this background. Okay, so let me remind about it, because we should take it under our consideration. I guess such names like, for example, Catherine Hiles, Rosie Braidotti, Kerry Wolf, Neil Badminton, Ellen Graham, and many other thinkers. Between them, the modern variant of this thinking is made by Fuchs, for example, and so on. Okay, this is what I wanted to say.
Okay.
And the okay, this is the first reflection, and the second reflection is on the digitality and digitality. Digitality is also a great subject. I try to gather the reflection about the digitality in my book, already published in Polish, but now I have English manuscript, and it's in the publication in English, which is also very well developed. And we have no time to speak about it, but this is what we can use as the foundation of for our future thinking. Yes, thank you very much. I don't want to confuse anyone, but
okay. So before you get an answer, maybe or also not, so we will have the third question, the third speaker, Daniel. And then the first of our panel has already raised his hand. So Daniel, please.
Yeah, I have an open question, which may well also be a suggestion in it. We're talking about sort of whether anything new is required in digital humanism, and it seems to me that quite obviously, even if we're working on the same ethical and humanistic principles, if they need to be applied to something new, a new technology or something, then we've got to think about how to do that, even if the ethics don't actually change fundamentally. But it strikes me that there's also a question, is it possible that the development of new technologies, and particularly things like artificial intelligence and the integration of artificial intelligence with human mental functions or whatever, whether that could actually mean that we need to make changes to the foundations of ethics, or whether it is just actually the application, or but perhaps it does go deeper. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, thanks. So, Rainer, you wanted to discuss something.
Yes, indeed. Well, first, thanks for those interesting questions. I think the first question somehow touches the last one. Like, is there anything to be changed in the foundations? Maybe this is the right question. Not do we just apply it, or does something fundamentally has to change? And as an answer to this, I would like to refer to something like the second question, Rafa, I think was it, mentioned. I think it's interesting that we talk about the digital as if it was a thing. And it's, I think many of the problems we're now discussing actually dissolve if we think about what's the ethics of electricity, what's the ethics of concrete, because all those things, they are not, it's not only that they're not good or bad, but they have so many indefinite shapes that if we want to discuss something, we have to first, I think, we have to first create classes of things and then discuss those particular things. Because it's not like, you know, we can think of a digital world or digitalized society where we have commons-based, peer-produced, small community-based software and hardware products that encourage interconnection and exchange between people. At the same time, we can use the digital to use like a centrally controlled surveillance state, like controlling every little move, only optimizing for economic growth. So which are we discussing if we discuss like the humanist or the digital humanism? And the same, of course, is true for putting devices into our bodies, right? We could say, let's jump higher, run faster, and those kind of masculine properties to increase this. But of course, we could also think about maybe communication devices that do not have like particular directions, but can be used by the user and maybe should be used by user. So this is maybe something, I'm not answering any question in particular, but I'm just by this recommending to maybe split up the problem a little bit, and maybe some of them then disappear because it's just unclarity that created them. Thank you.
Thanks. Yama?
It may be worth pointing out that not all problems created by digital technologies are specifically the necessary results of this technology, but the way it is coupled by other things, mainly the political and economic system. Neoliberal policies, market-based economy, when coupled with these giant tools, gives rise to a monster. As a matter of fact, any other tool and technology coupled with market-based reductionistic state of mind would create monsters. But what I might try to point out is the specific threat posed by digital technologies may be the following. First of all, digitization in the technical sense is not something that is peculiar to technology. This is very much part of the nature of the living, particularly. But if we think of, just a second, let me make space. At the heart of digitization lies discreteness. So if we have on one side a continuum and discrete entities on the other side, our agency, our authorship, the whole creative work we do occurs exactly here. Out of continuum of possibilities, we are creating discrete decisions, discrete events, classes, objects, etc. So the whole authorship is across this border. Now, what digital technologies, especially, virtual reality kind of thing does is to simulate this continuum, this unmodelable continuum of potentials in a, atomistic manner as a composition of some simpler events, and therefore reduces it actually to something that is, okay, not easy to see for an outsider, but it is actually well modeled there. Now, this poses a problem for the mentality it shapes, because this is promoted. People are playing in this world, and their cognitive abilities are being shaped in this mentality. And they start thinking that, okay, there are discrete options out there, and we are picking up one of them. And this picking up is bought by the customer as freedom of choice, whereas the actual freedom is already exhausted by those, the designers who have whoever modeled the continuum as a combination of discrete possibilities. So there is a very subtle change of mentality. And once you start absorbing this, then you easily start, for example, calling the necessity an update in humanism. That's why I objected it. The whole terminology we are using has been infiltrated by this mentality, which I regard as a real threat. In that respect, for example, my objection to artificial intelligence is not it's being used as a tool, but the naming. I seriously object it's being called intelligence, because it's pure ideology to call it intelligence, because the next moment, people, the next generations who keep on hearing it, really are convinced that their own intelligence is, well, a slightly better or more complicated kind of artificial intelligence, or even start being convinced that their own intelligence is something inferior to artificial intelligence provided by deep learning, etc. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. So, who else would like to respond?
Yeah, I would like to connect to follow your argument, Jagmer, of the need of the analogy wall. So and connecting also to my previous idea of recovering the autonomy of the individuals and the communities and so on. I think this is what is the problem. One of the big issues of today. So regard this lack of the capacity of the people of creating so digital assets, in the sense that it's taken from the continuum and it creates something from that continuum. I think that so the more and more people is just living this capacity or is not considering as something fundamental. So the gaining of that capacity of creating new assets and participating in this in the creation of the digital assets, something that I think at the beginning of the digital activities, maybe in the 90s and so, there was more the idea that people should participate in the development of these things. So actually that technology was easier, but I think that nowadays, maybe through the complexity, the growing complexity of that technology, so people is detaching more and more. Probably it's also kind of a commercial trend that it tries to show that this is too far away for the people to be able to develop with their own hands. But I think this is something we need to recover. But in order to recover that, I think we really need to develop a different system of communication, because the system of communication and information sharing is not done for that. It's just done for collecting information that is centralized as it has been centralized, for example, the bureaucratic state since the 16th century. So it goes towards that. And this is kind of the opposite of what the Enlightenment wanted to do. And this is kind of also what Habermas and the Frankfurter Schule stated as those projects of the Enlightenment that were not fulfilled. So the individual haven't gained so their capacity to participate and to see their truths and so on. And I think so the technologies is again one artifact that is going against this intention or this project.
Okay, we have a new intervention by Hans-Jörg. Question. We don't hear you. You need to unmute.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot.
Now we hear you.
Okay, so yeah, I would just like to react to a few things pointed out in this discussion. We seem to agree that ethics is the central topic of humanism and of our discussion. Ethics means, to my understanding, how should we as humans behave in this world in a proper way. The problem is that we don't know much about this world, and we have to behave properly without much knowledge. So knowledge is important. This was said in both the keynote speeches, but we don't have the knowledge. So I give 3 examples. The major part of matter and energy in the universe is called dark. Dark means we don't know at all what it is, but it has to be there, otherwise all the physical theories are wrong. So we don't know. The same with nature with respect to animals and plants. So Kirsten pointed this out. We cannot say that humans are the authors and nobody else has an authorship. We just don't know how nature really works with respect to information. processing, and this means with respect to knowledge processing and with respect to communication. There is a lot of communication in the world of plants, but we don't know much about this, and so we cannot just say there is not such a thing. So meantime, it is clear that animals are intelligent, but we don't know about the proper nature of it, including our own intelligence. We know about the phenomenons, but not how it works. And finally, as Rainer Reak pointed out, with respect to the systems we apply at the moment in the information technology world, we don't know in many cases how they work and what they really do, how they behave. We don't understand many things, but this is the problem of computer science from the very beginning. I am involved in this for more than 40 years now, and all the systems we created in this context, without very, very few exceptions, do not work in the way as we expected and do strange things, and we have to change them again and again and again to avoid all the bugs. So what I mean by this is we should be very cautious and very humble in the future with respect to digitalization and other technologies.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Thank you. So, anybody else? If not, we should try to think maybe of a last round to all of the panelists. And this was already a try. Hans-Jörg tried already to give the framework of the whole. Yeah, that's good. So please, whoever wants to start. I don't see Kirsten now. Kirsten. Okay, Yamwa. Okay, good. So don't forget, in 10 minutes we should stop.
So minutes do you give me?
Okay.
3.
3.
5, 3. Okay. So thanks for pointing out the aspect of animals and plants and all living beings. Well, I can just express my own opinion in that respect. I'm fully confident that they are communicating among each other. Information exchange is there. If they are really consciously responsible, well, I'm not sure, but that's also irrelevant because we as human beings are in the position to keep our own household and thanks God, not write down a rule of ethics for the animals or so. So in that sense, we are somewhat saved from that task. But there are risks, you know, bringing up this issue in the context of, for example, computer science, artificial intelligence, etc., together with ethics, because, okay, of course, ethics evokes also code of ethics, etc. So this routine and formalized, algorithmized side of the thing, but that's not it. The code, any code of ethics is actually a byproduct, I would say a digital byproduct of our ethical activity as authors. We are, none of us is in the position of claiming that any code of ethics would, maybe with a consensus produce here, would be optimal, best, and the true set of rules that we should obey. It is a byproduct. it's not the end, but just the beginning of our journey as responsible persons. So in that sense, okay, we are talking about codes, algorithms, ethics, etc. Well, relying on the flexibility of language, but they are things actually belonging to different realms. And I just want to warn about the dangers of discretizing and algorithmizing the domain, which should be exactly reserved for human authorship, responsibility, and our presence as human beings.
Okay,
That's
good. Thank you. Thank you. Very good. Next, please. Who? Rainer? You are next to her in my screen.
Okay, well, this is more or less the final round, right? So
yes. 3 minutes for you.
Yeah. Well, let's say I think it's it has been maybe I want to put what I said before in a more general frame, also including then what also I think Jagmo said just now. Well, how to put it? Let's say the concrete shape of the technology we're discussing, or the digital we're discussing. And oh yeah, now I remember, it was even the two keynote speakers that were talking about what the internet brought. And of course, all of this is the result of market incentives. It's cornerstones of development, it's limits of application. And of course, it's possible to market certain applications to do this or to that, and then they will be used. But if, as Jagmo just said, if they are the wrong thing because they discretize friendship, or they discretize human relationships in a certain way, it doesn't mean they won't be used. It just means they will be used and they will destroy something. And I think this is something where out of analyzing technology and reflecting philosophically on technology and humanism, a lot of our thought should go into the conditions that produce it. Might be the mainly market-oriented capitalist or neoliberal way of producing software. May it be what happens with our hardware after we stop using it, ending up somewhere in Africa or in China. All those things, they don't have to be this way, and they are the result of all the structures around. And maybe this can also connect to what Kirsten said at the beginning. I think it's really important to see, when we discuss this digitality, to see that also in the network of, it has been said a bit, of politics, of societal structures. And then also to be, I mean, we could as well also have the progressive discussion and say, not to ask, maybe to quote Weizenbaum as a last statement from my part, to say the question is not how do we describe what's like digitalization does to society, but the important question is how do we actually use digitalization to achieve what? And that's a question. And if you pose the question this way, a lot of degrees of freedom are created, and suddenly humanist or digital humanism is not the question how humanism changes by the use of technology, but it suddenly creates the question, how would a humanist technology look like? And this is the question I think we should be asking. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kirsten, may you now?
Yes.
Yes,
of course.
Please. Thank you. Fine.
Well, if we look at the whole area, we can say that up to now, everything that we were able to digitize has been digitized, has been tried to digitize, and we are continuing this work. And research and development were and are, of course, the drivers. And we look at a gold digging age for digital startups. But I believe that we've now reached a point where we have to make conscious decision about digitization, which areas of our lives should be further digitized. Other areas, and if so, which ones, in which digitization will not advance individuals in our society or will even endanger them. So the question is not what should we digitize, but what should we not digitize, really? And to answer these questions, I think impact assessment should play a much greater role than they have been in the past. And however, risk can only be recorded and dealt with in this framework if basic assumptions are clarified, possibly anew. And this is not primarily a matter of differentiating between humans and machines or deeming technology as evil or good. What is evil is intransparency and uncontrollability, if you ask me. And also, of course, from a data protection point of view. And what further needs to be clarified are basic assumptions about the relationship between the individual and the community, as I've already pointed out, and about the relationship between freedom, individualism, and arbitrariness in digitization. And related to these aspects, what does responsibility mean in a digitized world?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Jose, you're the last one.
Yeah, so thank you. So bringing together previous ideas, so I think we definitely need to overcome this kind of division similar to the one that was pointed out by Aristotle of the divide between the master and the slave, and consider that we are so nothing but nature, or feel this integration and make it work. Considering, of course, that we can control ourselves and we cannot control in the same way the circumstance or the environment in which we are. Another important point that I would like to stress is the need to recontextualize. I think that the digitalization process, as it has happened, as it is happening, and it is strongly going in the opposite direction of what of this idea of recontextualizing. I think this is fundamental from the perspective of the humanism, because if we don't do that, we will never gain the information that is needed for the individuum to act autonomously. So the autonomy require to recover the context where the lives are actually being deployed. In a sense, this recontextualization goes kind of against the some long-term traditions that has gone in opposition of considering the context as something fundamental. And in particular, the ICTs has gone and so the digital technologies has gone completely against that. So I think we need to do something in that regard, and to make that these technologies help us to recontextualize and to gain the autonomy for communities, for the peoples. And as Creo pointed out, we need to be very careful. We need to be very careful while developing our technology, considering that the technology should assist a nature that we do not understand well, because it has a lot of dark energy and dark matter. So the universe altogether, and even our own products that we cannot control. So when the number of relations is too big, then it is out of the capacity of ourselves and also the capacity of the machine. So we need to be very, very careful while developing that, and stepping always, so giving steps always with much care, so that nature is capable to persist, and the different individuals and the different collectives that are operating. In a sense, I think that the second order cybernetics provide us also an idea of this need of growing a knowledge that is always limited, and because it's a knowledge of the system that we are actually managing, is the system we are governing, we're trying to govern, but we can do nothing better than trying to know more and to know better. So like Hegel said, so ignorance is not innocent. I think that's completely right. So ignorance is not innocent. And now we need to consider that the sustainability and the idea of surviving is the idea of surviving in the earth. So the earth need to survive the connections, not only the selves, but all the connections that make the selves and the communities and so on work. So understanding this community of destiny, of taking these ideas of the beautiful project, the Homeland Earth project, I think it bring together many of the concepts that we have been pointing out, and I think this is something we need strongly bear in mind and to focus on. So thank you. That was the ideas I wanted to stress.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you for this wonderful discussion. And I will not make now a wrap up because I think everybody of us and all of the listeners know now, or those also who made the questions, we know which idea we will take with us. And most of them, if not all, will be also covered tomorrow and the day after tomorrow in our workshop. And we have 24 speakers, and all of you are invited to come and take part. And there will be each hour will be 3 presentations and 15 minutes discussion on all the presentations. And you have seen already 4 of the session chairs, and there will be other 4 chairs also. Okay.
I would like to invite everyone, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
To plenary sessions. There will be several very interesting presentations. Please look at the program, and I know that there could be time conflict with some conferences, but plenary sessions are set apart. So I hope you will be able to watch some presentations within plenary sessions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank
See you tomorrow.
See you.